Howdy, howdy do Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 237.
Yeah!
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. And I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect. But actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Hey, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've all managed to do something Doctor Who related. Yeah. Welcome to episode 237. Hope you're all well and keeping well and doing something. Doctor, I don't know, there isn't much to do, I suppose, Doctor Who at the moment. Unless you're a big fan of audio stuff. Big Finish is still throwing out plenty of Doctor Who stuff.
Yeah, they've got loads, haven't they? Can't keep up with their stuff at the minute. Yeah, in fact, I had to decide. I was on the website the other day and I had to decide there was too much coming out that I wanted in 1 month, because I always buy it by month. And yeah, I was like, there's a new Lucy Miller box set. Well, yeah, I must get that. But hang on a minute, that big Celebration set's out this month as well, and that's like 40 odd quid. And I was like, it's just too much Big Finish. But I'm not complaining, because yeah, it's good stuff. But yeah, the wallet was just in the corner of the room crying, just tears, little $ tears coming out,
little yelps like.
Credit card couldn't even touch it. It was so hot from being overused, smoke coming off it. Yeah.
Oh, buddy, I know what you mean. It's Big Finish. It's always a slight conundrum, because you can't. Well, I think I speak for both of us, but we can't afford to buy literally everything that they put out all the time.
No way.
So you have to choose carefully. And there's a few exceptions, like if there's a really cool box set that's coming out, like the upcoming one. Was it The Legacy of Time? Is that what it's called?
That's it, yeah. That's it.
So I pre-ordered that's for sure. And then some of the other previous box sets, like the 10th Doctor box sets, and when the classic Doctor's New Monsters box set came out, that was awesome. So when they announced Volume 2, I pre-ordered that one. So some of the box sets are a given, because they're just the quality is amazing and you can expect great stuff from that. But all of the monthly range stuff and all that, it's like, you've got to... And also the short stories they throw in, and some of the other bits, and the classic stories, and the lost. You've really got
the lost stories. They're coming back. Yeah,
you've got
they're doing more of those.
Yeah, you've got to target your stories carefully.
And it's not just the money, is it? It's finding the time, because I seem to have less and less time at the minute for stuff like that. I used to be my ironing time. I'd be like, right, there's a big pile of ironing. Let's get some Big Finish on. That'll get me through it. And but yeah, I don't know. It's just finding the time to listen to it. I've still got loads actually that I haven't finished, like a few box sets. So I think there was the Fourth Doctor comic strip one, which was really good. And I only got like, I listened to the first story and loved it. I think there's 3 in that. So I've still got like another 2 of those. Do you know what I mean? They're just there waiting to be listened to. And it's, so it's money and time and money.
Exactly.
Is what you need for Big Finish. Yeah.
Yeah, I read you, mate. Yeah. But hopefully you guys have found something to do. There haven't been any Doctor Who books out recently either. I haven't seen any.
No, there's. I'm quite excited for the Eric Saywood books that are coming out. I think one of them's either this month or next month, and then the other one's September, I think. So these are the 2 Dalek stories that never got novelized.
Oh yeah.
So there's Resurrection and Revelation. So I'm quite looking forward to those because I like both those stories, and I think Eric's quite good, for his novelizations that he's done before. Do you remember those? They got the funny covers. I wasn't very struck on the covers for those, but I'm looking forward to seeing if they look better in hand because I like the fact they sort of match. They're in different colours, aren't they? They're sort of same design in different colours. So, yeah, I remember when they unveiled those, I was like, they're not the real covers, are they? But I think they're the sort of things that might hopefully look better actually on the shelf, if you know what I mean, in hand, so to speak. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to them whenever they're out. I'm sure one of them's out soon because I know he's doing a sign-in in Forbidden Planet. Eric Saywood, this is... which is this month, I'm sure. So I did contemplate going up, but I probably won't be able to because of work and stuff. But if I was free, I probably would have popped up to get another smiley picture with Eric.
Another smiley one.
Get him to sign the book. Yeah. But I don't know. Whenever I see Eric Saywood, I always want Matthew Waterhouse to be with him because after we saw them together on stage at the BFI, because they were just such an hilarious, so opposite.
There's like a good sort of comedy act, weren't they? Because Eric's so deadpan and so dry, and then you've got Matthew.
He's very quiet.
Yeah, and then you've got Matthew who just has these outbursts. Like every time when he goes to answer his question, he has this just 1 second of little thought, and then he's just this big burst of like, oh yes, and then he's off, and then you can just see Eric rolling his eyes like, here we go. I would have answered this within 3 seconds with just a yes or a no, but now we've got 15 minutes worth of anecdotes and history and stories and all that sort of nonsense. So they're a good team, unbeknownst to themselves, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember Matthew tweeting that it was the first time they'd seen each other for a few years when they met up at the BFI for that event that we went to. And he said, that they really great to see each other, and they obviously get on quite well. But yeah, it was just funny seeing them in such a contrast, those two on stage. But because Eric did literally just answer some questions with a yes or no, didn't he? It's very hard to get anything out of him, but there's something about him I like, though. That dry, slightly cantankerous. Yeah.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah, it is cool. So.
And he never smiles in photos. Like, he's nice to meet. If you ever see a picture of him, he always looks a bit grumpy, doesn't he? He doesn't have a very smiley face in photos, but he is actually very pleasant when you meet him.
Yeah, he is. He's got a very just like his demeanor really, and his sense of humor. He's very just dry. So when you're talking to him, he is very engaging, and he does smile and stuff. But when he poses and when his just natural look, if you like, he's just very you don't get much of a beaming smile from Eric. Maybe it's
no.
Yeah, maybe he's just he's done all that. Mind you, he wasn't really one for cons, was he, or events? We didn't really see him too often, did we?
No. Well, I think for a while him and JNT fell out, so that may be why. Because back in the day when he probably would have been doing cons. I mean, I don't know this. I'm just guessing, but because him and JNT fell out, maybe he didn't want to do any cons. I don't know. Yeah. There's a great documentary on the Trial of a Time Lord box set with Eric. And I mean, I assume this will be on the Blu-ray when it comes out, but I think it's on the last disc. I'm not sure. But he talks about his original idea for the ending of Trial of a Time Lord and how him and J&T clashed over it. Mm-hmm. And I think, oh gosh, it's a long time since I watched that making of, but I think that was the sort of straw that broke the camel's back. From what I remember, they really clashed over that. And it's honestly it's fascinating, not just because of that, but just to hear his original idea, because I think he wanted to sort of leave it on a cliffhanger with the Doctor and the Master sort of falling into the vortex, and we don't know if they're dead or alive. And from what I remember, and JNT was like, "No, we're not having that. We're not leaving it on like that, because then they'll cancel the show altogether." And they really clashed over it. So, so he's good. Again, I like him on the making of. So I find him quite interesting, because he does say it how he is, or he speaks his mind, doesn't he? Which I know can be good and bad, because I know he offended Colin Baker. He's not a fan of Colin as the Doctor, and I know he quite openly said that. Perhaps he was a little bit too open about it. But yeah, he kind of says what he means. But yeah. Talking of box sets, mate, I have been doing a bit of Doctor Who related stuff this week. So yesterday I went to see Spider-Man, which was really cool. But as I was in town, I went and picked up the new season 10 box set, Blu-ray set, which is, as you'd imagine, absolutely gorgeous. It's lovely. It's really, really nice. I mean, by the time we got back from the cinema and we went for a drink after, I didn't have a lot of time to watch any of it last night, but I did open it, obviously, and look at the lovely packaging, and it's absolutely lovely, and there's loads of extras on it. So I only had time to watch 2 little featurettes before bed, because I also had to watch Torchwood ready for today. So I was up till quite late last night. So I watched the Behind the Sofa with John Levine and Katie Manning and Richard Franklin. That was really nice. This is the Three Doctors one, and there's a lovely, lovely documentary on there with Toby Haydock called Looking for Lenny.
Oh, okay.
I kept getting this wrong yesterday, because I thought right up until we were in the pub, I thought the documentary was called Looking for Levine. So I thought it was going to be like A Weekend with Waterhouse, where Toby Haydock goes out trying to find John Levine and stuff. So I totally misunderstood this. It's not. It's actually Toby Haydock trying to find out about a writer and director from Doctor Who passed away. Actually, he was killed, I think, in a boating accident. And little is known about him. And there's like one surviving photograph of him and all this. He's a bit of a sort of enigma. So Toby goes out and meets people that worked with him. Actually, I won't say who, because there's a few nice surprises. So he talks to some directors from Doctor Who. He talks to a couple of people from Doctor Who. He finds his daughter, and he just it's a bit like Who Do You Think You Are from BBC One. He kind of all these little trails lead to things, and he manages to find some film, and it's a really lovely little extra. So I watched that last night as well.
Oh, nice. That sounds
already,
good. Yeah.
Although I only got to watch those two lovely extras. Did you get the set? Have you got it?
Well, I hope so. So
you hope so.
Yeah, so when I pre-ordered this set, that was when I was living at my previous house. And so I updated my address details, because I ordered it from zoom.co.uk. I updated my address details, but for some reason the actual order itself was shipped to my old address.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I'm hoping because we set up a redirect with Royal Mail, so anything that goes there will come here, but it's normally a day or two late. So I'm hoping that Zoom use Royal Mail.
I think they do. I think they did last time.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. So it should be here today, because like I said, it's the things that we've got with the little redirect sticker on it have normally been a day later than the actual thing. So fingers crossed. The postman's due any time now. So yeah. But if not, then not sure.
Okay, well, I hope it does that, mate. I mean, I'm hoping to sort of really get stuck into it this afternoon on the rest of my day off. So, hopefully yours will turn up soon, because there's a wealth of extra material on it. The only other thing I've done Doctor Who related in the last couple of days is I did start to listen to, last week we spoke about the John Pertwee, I think it's called the Pertwee Files. There was like a documentary celebrating John Pertwee on 4 Extra, I think it was.
Oh, the centenary celebration.
Yeah, we spoke about it last week, didn't we? So it's narrated by his son, Sean. And it's just called the John Pertwee Files. So I started to listen to that yesterday while I was getting ready to go out and stuff. And unfortunately, I only got a chance to re-listen to about 20 minutes. So I'm going to listen to the rest of the day. But I'll tell you what I've heard. Absolutely brilliant. It's such a good little. It's one of those things. I don't know if this sounds strange, but because you can only listen to it, you sort of can't really download it. You can just listen to it online. I kept thinking, this is so good. I want to own this. Does that make sense? You know, when you go and see a film and you're like, I can't wait till that comes out. Yeah. I was listening to this John Pertwee thing, and it was all these little interview clips with him, and I just kept thinking, I wish I could actually download this onto my computer to keep forever, because it's what I've heard of it so far. It's brilliant. But yeah, you can download it to listen to. Obviously, you just can't keep it. But yeah, I recommend it's on BBC Sounds for the next 30 days, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Or 25 days now, probably. But I recommend, if anyone's thinking to listen to it, to go and listen to it. What I've heard so far was just brilliant. Yeah, and Sean Pertwee is absolutely perfect as the narrator. Not just because he's John's son, but his voice and everything just really, really suits like the narration. It's yeah.
He's a cool guy, isn't he? Sean Pertwee.
Yeah, he is. He really is. I like Sean Pertwee. I'd like to meet him. So yeah, I managed to get a little bit of that. And again, just time beating me as usual, because I didn't want to switch it off, but I had to go out. So I'm going to finish that off later as well. So yeah, very much the Dr. John Pertwee theme stuff going on with me at the minute in my spare time.
That's cool, mate. Yeah.
What about you, mate? Well, so I know you'll be looking forward to your box set, but anything else going on? Who related in your new house, in your new pad?
No, not particularly. I was looking forward to getting the box set yesterday. I'll be honest with you. I was thinking I'd crack that open and start digging into a few bits, more so the special features than the episodes for now. But yeah, it wasn't until it got to sort of middle of the afternoon I thought, this is weird. The postman's normally been by now. And there's nothing, and that's when it clicked. I was like, "Oh God!" So I went on there and checked, and yeah, they'd sent it to the old one. But yes, I'm hoping to get that today. So I haven't really done anything Doctor Who over the last week since we recorded. But before we get on to news and merch, I just want to give a couple of updates on the show itself, because a few people have tweeted or got in contact to say that we've either missed their review or something's not come through. So, so if we rewind and go back maybe, I don't know, 6 weeks to 2 months, Adam and I had slightly different circumstances in our lives where we had different things going on. So we could have a bit more time dedicated each week to a set day. So for years, we've always recorded on a set day and stuff, but that's changed recently. So we don't have a set day anymore that we're going to record the podcast, because we literally haven't got that. So you just have to keep your eyes on social media. So every Monday morning, I'll put a post out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and that tells you what review episode we're doing that week. And then you can either tweet us or comment on the Facebook post, or if you want to do an audio review, you can email that into us. That's all good. But what I'll start doing, if I can, is put on there the day in which we're going to record. So I did that yesterday. I said that we're recording today, so if you want to get your reviews in to get them in, and I tweeted out last night as well. So just keep your eyes on the social stuff, and I'll do my best to let you know what day we're going to be recording that week. And second of all, you might notice that our audio is a little bit choppy or a little bit cybermat disgruntled at the minute, because in my new house I haven't got broadband yet, so Adam and I are Skyping over. Well, Adam's got broadband, but I'm on 4G for my phone. So if the audio breaks up a little bit now and then or whatever, I do apologise. But broadband should be here next week, all being well. So I've been fighting for about 3 weeks now with BT Openreach, pretty much daily, to get them to fix whatever it was that was the problem, which they've now done. So hopefully next week it'll all be back to crisp audio as usual. So yes, a couple of updates for the show there. But no, I haven't done anything really Doctor Who related, mate.
Were you getting jealous of it? Because I was seeing all the people getting theirs slightly early on Twitter, everyone posting their pictures, but I see Zoom, because we were saying on the podcast the other week, Zoom normally get theirs out to people by the Friday before, and it didn't happen this time. People were panicking, weren't they? They were like, I could see people saying, where's I've ordered from Zoom and it's Friday and I haven't had a dispatch email, and they didn't seem to get them out quite as quick this time, but they still, I would say 80% of the people got it on the Saturday this time. So they still got it a couple of days early, and then a few people got it on the Monday. So yeah, but I was out on Saturday, obviously I didn't have my set then. I only got mine yesterday, and I've seen all the pictures and people had got it, and I was like, oh no. And because I was on Sunday. I was quite hungover from a beer festival, and I was thinking, what would be perfect now is if I could just sit on the sofa and just blitz my way through a box set. And I was just, I would have loved it if it arrived early. But but I went and bought mine from a shop. Yeah, from an actual shop for a change. From an actual shop. But I'm sure yours will run soon, buddy. I can't wait to see you. I know you'll blast the picture up on the Insta, won't you? As soon as you get it.
I will do, mate. Yeah, because they're beautiful sets, as we've said before.
It's the law.
Yeah, it's the law.
As soon as you get it, you have to post a picture of it. Yeah.
Indeed. Rightio. Shall we land and do a bit of news?
Yeah.
Doctor Who conventions and event stuff. Who doesn't love going to an event? So we know that the big events that are taking place across this year. So we've already had LFCC Spring. We've done that one. There's already been an MCM. We've got LFCC, the main one, coming up in, 2 weeks, I think? Roughly 2 weeks. But if you want to plan your diary for next year, then there's a pretty cool event which the Doctor Who Appreciation Society do every year, which is called the Capitol. And, I say every year. They've done it for, I think it's the last 4 years. So the fifth one, so the Capitol 5, has already been announced for next year with the date, and they've already bagged a few good guests as well. So our buddy Rick Moran, who's over at the DWAS, sent me some deets for this. It looks very good. So next year it's the 25th and the 26th of April, and they always do it at the Crown Plaza Hotel over at Gatwick. The guests so far have been announced as Bernard Cribbins, Jeanette Fielding, Carol Ann Ford, Bonnie Langford, Peter Purvis, and Annika Wills. So already a cracking lineup.
Yeah.
And how many? So it's a weekend, a whole weekend thing. I was trying to get my words out then. And you can either book your ticket as a DWAS member, or you don't have to be a member. You can still go. It's all good. And from what I hear, you and I haven't been able to attend one of these Capitol events yet, but from what I hear, they're very good because they do a very good mix of panels, Q&As, autograph sessions, all that stuff. So it's not like your typical convention where you just queue up, you're in front of somebody for 30 seconds, they fling a signed picture at you and on your way sort of thing. From what I hear, because it's a dedicated Doctor Who convention, from what I hear, it's more intimate, I suppose is the word, a bit more. There's more time to soak it all in and actually chat to the panels and guests that they've got there. So it does sound like a very cool thing, and they've announced it nice and early. So stick it in your diary for next year, the 25th and the 26th of April. If you just head over to dwasonline.co.uk/the Capitol, you'll see all the details there. And also, just very quickly from the DWAS as well, they've just released their, they do this e-magazine called The Cosmic Mask, and they've just put out Cosmic Mask number 8. So that's a free download you can grab. It's a PDF from their website. Just go to dwasonline.co.uk and you'll see a thumbnail or a link on the homepage. Or if you just go to cosmic_mask_downloads, you'll see it on there as well. But that's very, very cool. It's like a really good, there's like loads of content within a single issue, and it's got fan fiction, it's got interviews with people, it's got reviews and reports and all sorts. So go and check out the DWAS website, DWAS Online, so dwasonline.co.uk. Book your tickets for next year, and also take a look at the Cosmic Mask. It's very cool.
Indeed. I know some friends that went to that last year, and they really loved it. They had such a good time. Yeah. So, and again, great first announcement guests, aren't they? Good to see Carol Ann Ford doing some UK cons as well. So yeah, and that picture of Annika is hilarious. I've got a picture of her holding this sort of toy Dalek, looking a bit. Well, she looks like she's going to bite its head off. So that's cool. Right, moving on to some sad news, I'm afraid. Glyn Houston has died at the age of 93. Now, I'll be honest, when I saw the name, it didn't ring any bells. I was like, Glyn Houston. And then I saw his picture and I was like, oh, I immediately recognised him. He's one of those faces. I think he appeared in many television shows over the years, and he is, I think, one of those people that if you saw the face, you'd recognise him. But he was in 2 Doctor Who stories. In 1976, he played Professor Watson in the 4th Doctor story, The Hand of Fear, and he also played Colonel Wolseley in the 5th Doctor story, The Awakening. So he was in 2 Doctor Who stories, and as I said, he was in loads of things. So Inspector Morse, Minder, 8.5 Hot Mum, Z-Cars, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Of course. Are You Being Served?
Some mothers do have them.
Some mothers do have them, yeah. Dixon of Dock Green, classic stuff. So, I mean, he's had a very, very good back catalogue of shows that he starred in over the years. And it's sad that he's passed away. His friend and biographer, Dean Powell, is quoted as saying, Glenn enjoyed life, his family, his hobbies, and didn't let work get in the way of that. He always had time to speak to people, showed a genuine interest in other people's lives. Although he left the south of Whale Valley 7 decades ago, he had all the great qualities of a working class Welshman at heart. So yeah, as I said, if you're not too sure, go and check out his picture. I'm sure you recognise him from one of the many shows he was in. And he's passed away at the age of 93.
Yeah, that is sad. And I did exactly the same thing as you. When I heard the name, when I read the name, I thought Glyn Houston. I can't place that. But then when I saw his face immediately, if you've watched any British television over the past, I don't know, back to the 50s even, all the way up to recently, then you would definitely know his face. So he's been in so many things. You'll definitely recognise him. It's sad. But at 93. Yeah.
Indeedy.
That's it for news. We have got a couple of little merchy bits. Shall we do the merch?
Wheel him in. Come on.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Well, there you are, young man. What do you think of that now, eh? A Viking helmet.
I know, it's on the telly. It's everywhere.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
Try work in a shop now. It'd help.
Anyways, match.
Very catchy, that.
Steelbooks, mate.
We love
Steelbooks.
them.
They're still rocking and rolling.
Yes,
from the
good.
Beeb. I'm surprised at this,
Yeah, this just popped out of nowhere, didn't it? There was no midnight announcement, build up or nothing. And I really liked that. I don't know about you. I woke up and saw this in the morning. I was like, whoa, is this real? And it is. It's a thing and it's great.
It is a thing, yeah. And my surprise is twofold. First of all, like you, I was surprised that they just popped this out there without any fanfare.
Yeah.
Second of all, I'm just surprised that these are still going because you just wouldn't think that this was a thing the Beeb would be interested in. You'd think that they'd push all their efforts and time and money. I'm not sure where the money comes from, whether it's BBC Worldwide or BBC America or BBC Studios or whatever it is. You'd think they'd just pump it all into the classic Blu-ray box sets that they're doing. But no, the steelbooks from the modern Doctor Who series are alive and well. So the next one that's going to be out for purchase on the 2nd of September will be the David Tennant specials on the limited edition steelbook. So this is the 4 stories that they put out. That was a strange thing to do, wasn't it? Back in the day. So when we came to the end of series 4,
yeah,
and then to say goodbye to David Tennant, they didn't do a series. Obviously, he wasn't in series 5, but they did the series of specials throughout the whole year. So you had, a Crimbo special, then there was one at Easter, then there was one a bit later on, and then they finished on another Christmas special. Is that right? How they did it?
From what I remember, yeah.
So, yeah, because you had the specials, essentially, it's not a full series of Doctor Who. It's 4, as the name suggests. There are 4, I think there are 2. Were they 2? No, the 4th story is 2 parts, but you've got the next Doctor, which was a Christmas one, because I remember it.
That was definitely Christmas.
It was snowing at the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then you had Planet of the Dead, which is the story with Lady, what's her face?
Christina, is
Lady Christina, when they're out in the desert, the double-decker bus gets, I think it's got Lee Evans in that one. It's pretty good. And then you had the Waters of Mars.
One of my favourites.
Have we reviewed that yet before I say anything about it?
I don't think we have, actually.
The Waters of Mars. No, we haven't. No.
Cool.
We have
Zip
not
your
done,
lip.
so I can't say too much about that one. And then we move on to the two-parter, which was David Tennant's very final story, which is The End of Time, part 1 and 2.
Which we have reviewed, and you love, don't you? Because it divides people, that one, but you love it, don't you?
I absolutely love it. It cripples me for a day. I bloody love it.
You do?
Yeah, it cripples me for about a day. I literally can't talk to anyone or do anything after watching it. I'm just a blubbering mess afterwards. But it is very cool. Now, more importantly, because we all know the stories that are on these steelbooks, we've all got. I think this is triple dipping now, because we all. I know.
At least.
Yeah, I've got the original DVD box sets. I've also got the singular Blu-rays that they started putting out. And now we've got the steelbooks as well. So we don't need to talk about the stories themselves. It's all about the artwork for these steelbooks. What do you think to this one?
It's blimmin' lovely, isn't it? It's Tom Webster, isn't it? Done this one.
Tom Webster, yes.
Yeah. I think it looks really, really nice, mate. Yeah, and it fits well with, well, apart from Series 3, which, I don't know, the artwork just fell off the side there with that one. This fits in nicely with the Series 4 one that we got quite recently, didn't we? Which, again, was really nice. And that wasn't by Tom Webster. I can't remember the lady's name who did that one. But yeah, this is another belter, I think. I think the cover is lovely. It
is a beautiful cover, yeah. And I really like the... both. We haven't seen the inside yet. Sometimes they do.
No, that's a good point.
You know, and you've got the inside underneath the plastic bit, but both front and back is really nice on this one. So the front cover has got David Tennant with his hand, and you can see all the regeneration energy that's, you know, he's about to. You know, it's that. Oh, I can't do it, Adam. It's the scene.
Come on,
at the
pull
end,
yourself together.
Yeah, I don't want to go. It's that bit, and then on the back cover, it's really good because it's a collage. It's got the Master there, front and center at the top, and you got all the other characters. You got the Ood on there, and Donna and Rassilon. Yeah, it's very, very cool. It's a very cool design, and much in a way, it's kind of similar to the first two, but it's not. If you know what I mean, because the first two were very. They were really stylized. They had a real kind of painter's, like a paintbrush stroke kind of feel to it. They looked very much like, I think series 3 was the like the black sheep, wasn't it? Because it went off in a slightly different.
Yes, I'm not a fan of that cover.
Yeah. So this one kind of falls into the same camp. It's got that very...
Oh, I love Series 3, by the way. Sorry, I must clarify that, because I absolutely love Series 3, just not a fan of the steelbook art.
Oh, yeah. So this has got that very orangey, reddy, huey tone that's dominant, but it has got like a bit of green and purple thrown in there. But I think it fits the other ones quite well, because you can see the spine. The spine, you can see the side. And I think that's all sort of red and orange.
Yeah.
So that will fit very well. So I assume I'm gonna pick this up, mate. You're gonna throw this on
definitely.
the shelf.
Absolutely. I think it looks great, and also it's nice to see, because there was like a bit of a gap, wasn't there? After the Series 3 one, there were rumours that it hadn't sold well, so the line had been cancelled. Do you remember? People like they're not doing the steelbooks now because the Series 3 didn't sell, and there was so much fuss about the artwork being wrong and all this. And so then we got Series 4 announced. We're like, yay, they're still doing them. And then this one has come out announced quite quickly afterwards. So it's like, so after that sort of what felt like quite a long gap of uncertainty, it seems like we're back on a roll. And I know Series 4 has sold well, apparently. So hopefully this one will as well. And yeah, the artwork's top notch. I love it. It also includes the little 2 animated episodes they did, Dreamland and The Infinite Quest. Which, while they're not amazing, I really like the fact they've put them in as extras. I think that's just a nice little bonus for anyone that hasn't got them. They're very watchable. I mean, they're not bad. They're just not that great either. But yeah, 2 nice little animations thrown in as bonuses as well. So, definitely get this. Definitely.
Indeedy. And there's another thing on here that's very cool, which is Doctor Who at the Proms.
Oh.
Yes, and I was at that one, and it was amazing.
Is that? Oh, yeah. No, it can't be the one. Oh, yeah. So I was going to say that I'm on one. If you freeze frame, I'm in 1 second.
Yeah, me too.
Of the prom. But it's not that one because my one's got Matt Smith on it.
Oh, yeah. The Matt Smith one was great.
Yeah,
that one was great also. But this one was like, I'm wearing a really bright pink polo top. So when you freeze frame it, so if you just, I might do a little screenshot and put it out on Insta just for the crack. But
I can find you next time I watch it. Yeah,
yeah. But it's very cool that they've put those animated because, like you said, they're not amazing, but I've got a little soft spot for them because
me too. Yeah,
it was the BBC just trying something with Who at that time, and so so Monday the 2nd of September, you can pre-order it now. The specials, tissues at the ready.
Fantastic. Right, Dalek Tatzel also brought in a new book that's being released by Pencil Tip Publishing, and it's by a chap called Nick Mellish, like that name, Nick Mellish. It's called Target Troll. And basically what Nick does is he's gone back and he's read every single Target novelisation and basically done reviews on them. So I think this used to be for a magazine, which was called, what was it called? Hootopia.
That's it.
So he used to publish little reviews in this about the Target novelizations. So he's collected all those together. He's finished his quest now and he's read them all. He's brought it right up to date. So he's also Jane Adventure novelizations, the Douglas Adams adaptions and all this sort of thing. So yeah, it's all brought together in this nice new book called Target Trolls, and it's available from, it's basically print on demand. So it's available from lulu.com. Lulu. I like that. Lulu.com. Yeah. And it sounds pretty cool. Just give you a little bit of blurb actually. It says, for many, the words of Doctor Who and Target novelisation go together like Jelly and Baby or Yartek and Vord. In a time when recording TV was often impossible, these novelisations offered fans a chance to relive the very best the show had to offer, and Time Lash. So it says, join writer and fan Nick Mellish as he reads and reviews them all and writes the words Terence and Dix more than any man rightly should. So it says, from David Whittaker to Jodie Whittaker, Target Troll is a celebration of Doctor Who in its literary form, from the sublime to the ridiculously sublime. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does, yeah. Do you know what? I'm a sucker for the...
I love the Target. Love the Target.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm a sucker for the old Target books, and this sounds like a very... I mean, this must have been a real slog, because there's a lot of Target books out there. Yeah. So Nick Mellish, that is a cool name. If you head over to, we'll put a link in the show notes anyway. But if you just go over to lulu.com, so lulu.com, and just do a search for Target or Target Troll, you'll find it on there. It's one of those print on demand things, so there's no problems with stock or anything like that. It's 15. No, that's ex VAT. So in the UK, this says it's £14.45 excluding VAT. So it's probably around £18 ish, 17, £18. But I'm going to pick this up, mate, because I picked up this other Target book a couple of years ago. It's just called The Target Book, and it's a massive book.
I've got that. Lovely.
Yeah. So anything to dive into the Target stuff, and there's also, if you're ever in a bookshop that does second-hand books as well, so if you're ever in a charity shop or a decent bookshop, it's always really good fun hunting down rare Target books. That's awesome.
I always look for them. Yeah, every time we go in an Oxfam or whatever, I always head straight to the sci-fi or children's section to see if they got any Doctor Who books. Yeah, I love the Target covers. They're amazing.
They are, yeah. So there you go. Target Troll. Pick that up if you're interested in that stuff, and read the review of every Target book up to now that's been published. Right, that's it for news and merch, bud.
That's it.
We should get on to our review, which is what this week?
So, yeah, we're back to Torchwood this week, and the episode is called Out of Time.
Hello there.
When did you leave?
About half an hour ago.
Which date?
Today, December the 18th.
Which year?
1953.
How can you travel 50 years in half an hour?
Your aircraft slipped through a transcendental porthole.
Then how do we get back?
You don't. Just 3 lost people who've somehow become our responsibility.
It's like 2 separate worlds. There's Torchwood, then there's real life.
Who are you? A man like you, out of his time, alone, scared.
And I miss them! And I hate this selfish, stinking place!
She's not happy at that bit.
No, she's not happy in there, is she?
Yeah.
Like that music, though. Nice music.
Yeah, that's not an official trailer. That's another one from that really cool YouTube channel, and I always forget the name or how to say it properly. It's something like Veritasima Productions or something like that. I'll have to stick a link on Twitter or something. This YouTube channel, they do so many trailers for Doctor Who and Sarah Jane and Torchwood, and they're very, very cool. So I'll do a shout out to them later. But yes, Out of Time from Torchwood. It was broadcast back in December, the 17th of December in 2006. It was written by Catherine Tregenna. I hope I'm saying that right, Tregenna. And it was directed by Alice Troughton. And it stars the Torchwood hub, as we expect, plus a fairly small, supporting cast. So we should hopefully get the names right.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
And the synopsis for this one is right from the bat, the Torchwood team are at the airport and they're greeting this crew that have landed in this old-fashioned plane, and due to a hole or a crack in the rift, they flew through, and they're from the 50s. So from 1953, when they took off, there was the pilot, Diane, along with a guy called John and a young lady called Emma. They're on the plane. They land in Torchwood and they get hit with the knowledge or the news immediately that they've slipped through time. They can't get back. So the story then is essentially about them trying to get to grips with their future world that they now find themselves in. And some of the Torchwood characters form a bit of a bond with each of these characters. So we've had a bit of a rocky start with Torchwood since we've started doing them. And we're still on series 1. We've had a few good ones in there, some all right ones. But Out of Time then. So this is a very different vibe to what we've seen currently in Torchwood Series 1. Because previously, all up to now anyway, a lot of Torchwood has been very action-orientated, very sweary at times for the sake of it, quite adult and stuff. Episode does have elements of that, but for different reasons. So what did you think to Out of Time then?
Yeah, it felt like a bit of a step up to me, this one. Like you said, it's Torchwood so far, as we've been reviewing it, you can see that they were finding their feet for a while. It's been a bit up and down, hasn't it? But this one did feel, I would say this one felt more mature and without trying to be too adult. I think that's the thing. I think up until this point, we've had a lot where they've tried to be more adult. So they've thrown in lots of swearing and sex and gore. With this one, it just felt more mature. It didn't feel like they'd sort of toned down that side, but it was still quite an adult episode. One thing that really struck me was the acting in it seems to have suddenly jumped up a lot better. I don't know what's happened. It was like everybody in this episode seems to be really hitting the mark. I thought the acting was fantastic from everybody in this, from the main cast to the supporting cast. It was like, I don't know, there have been bits along the way so far where it's been, like we've said, like, oh, John Barrowman didn't seem to be really into this one, or, God, they're not really gelling as a team, or that was a bit cringe. But God, everybody seemed to have really upped their game suddenly in this episode. I don't know if it was recorded, later in the recording blocks and people had settled down or what. I don't know the reason for it, but the acting was so much better in this episode. It just felt like they really got the script, and it seemed like everybody just wanted to really perform it well. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good concept, a very, very simple concept of these guys coming, from a different time and having to adjust to modern day life, and they had fun with that. And it was also quite serious in places, quite moving in places as well, and also a little bit cringy in places. But we'll come to that one scene. But overall, I thought this was good. I thought the story perhaps just about filled the 50 minutes. There were times when I thought, because it is quite a simple story, I thought they maybe were just stretching it out a little. Or I was sort of waiting for something else to happen, for there to be a bit of a twist or whatever. There's no aliens in this, there's nothing happens in the middle where there's no game changer in it really. But yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good episode, a good one. What about you, mate? What do you think?
Yeah, this kind of came out of nowhere, this one. I wasn't expecting this to be as... It's like a little emotional story before we get to the finale of Series 1, because I think we're only, 3 episodes out now from finishing Series 1. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really good Torchwood story, I feel. It doesn't... it's a very, very good script. Really moving at times. I was tearing up at one point. And yeah, it feels like everything's gone up a notch since the last episode that we reviewed, or the last story, in terms of the actors' performances and just their interactions with each other. I think that's down to both the writer and the director. I think they both did a really good job with this one.
Yeah,
there was no, because there are a couple of scenes which are quite adult, and that revolves mainly around Owen and Diane. So essentially the plot for it is, like I said, some of the Torchwood Hub members, they form a close bond with some of these characters. So Gwen, she forms a bond with Emma. She sort of takes her in, doesn't she? And she tells a bit of a porky pie to Reese, but she takes her in and takes her under her wing, so to speak. And then you've got Owen, who falls in love with Diane. She's the pilot of the plane that comes through. And then you've got Captain Jack, who forms a bond with John, because they kind of find a common ground where John kind of he starts to see through Jack a little bit. He sees that he's not quite as he seems either, because he's got the accent and he behaves a little bit differently. And Jack reveals to him the truth that he hasn't actually told the Torchwood guys yet. He reveals that, he's not from this time either. So they're both people that are out of their time and stuff like that. And the relationships that are formed, it's really, I tell you what, it's one of those stories where if you were feeling sad and down anyway, it's probably not the best one to, like, if you're having a day where you're just feeling a bit depressed or a bit down, or you've just, I don't know, somebody's died recently, it really isn't the story to put on, because it just takes you back to that feelings. It just, the feeling of sort of overall sadness, I suppose. I mean, there are some, I mean, the whole episode itself isn't really a big downer, really. But there are just these little pockets where it's just really sad, because this episode doesn't have anything to do with space and aliens and all that stuff. It's nothing like all of the previous Torchwood stories where there's people being murdered and there's an alien on the loose and all that stuff. It really is a grounded human story. I think that's the best way to describe it. And
grounded is a really good word to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. So other than the little tiny mentions of Captain Jack explaining that their plane has fallen through the rift in time, you wouldn't know it was a science fiction show other than that, really. Yeah. So I think it's the performances and the script more than anything that really moved this one up the scale for me in terms of Series 1 of Torchwood, and especially the chemistry between, I think it's because they don't talk to each other that much. Like some of the other episodes from Series 1 where the Torchwood guys are all doing their thing, the chemistry is a bit frosty sometimes, and you think, they're not quite gelling as you would expect. Yeah. But in this one, even though they don't talk to each other too much, I think that's not a bad thing, because they do have this bit of separation. So, yes. What did you think to that aspect then? Because Torchwood is very sci-fi most of the time. So you're not too fussed that this was this could have been a drama. This could have been something that was on, ITV during the day.
Yeah,
minus a couple of scenes. It could have just been a drama thing. Yes, what do you think to that then? Not very sci-fi.
No, yeah, but I kind of liked that. I mean, in a way, we sort of got, because Random Shoes, the episode before, was trying something a bit different, I think. But I think this was more successful. I think this sort of actually found its feet a lot better. Actually, I've just realised that is not a pun unintended. This definitely just actually worked better overall. It does go to some quite dark places. The bit where the guy's committing suicide in the car, incredibly dark, but incredibly moving because Jack's there with him, and I thought that was a really emotional. It packed a real punch. I thought, they've got this right, without being too sort of horrific. I wasn't sat there thinking, this has gone too far, or the way they did it was really well done. The scene in the home when he goes to visit his son, I found incredibly moving. So he goes to visit his son, who's obviously now old, twice as old as he is, sort of thing, and he's got dementia, and that was a powerful scene as well. But what I like about this is it, like you said, there's no aliens, there's no twist, because I kept thinking I didn't remember this episode at all, so I really didn't. At one point, I even wondered if I'd even seen it before. But I was thinking, I'm sure I've seen every Torchwood episode apart from some of Miracle Day, so I have seen it before, and there were bits at the end that I remembered, so I definitely had seen it before, but I couldn't remember it at all. So it was good. It was a bit like watching a new episode for 90% of this, and I kept thinking, where's this going? But in a good way, like, is something going to happen in a minute? Because I was sort of almost waiting for them to try and take over the world or something. Do you know what I mean? I thought there's going to be a twist, or where, what is the actual heart of this story? But what I really liked about it is what the heart of the story was. There was no big twist. It was a story about people, and also how they affected the Torchwood team. And like you said, the Torchwood team, because they sort of pair up with one of them each. You get to learn a bit more about each Torchwood character and the characters that have just been introduced. So it's I guess it's a character piece, isn't it? Rather than being anything else. And I just thought it worked really, really well for the most part because of that. So I wasn't sort of sat there thinking, I kind of want a Weevil to escape in a minute and something to happen. Or I didn't feel any of that. I thought it really, which you can imagine they could have done. They could have had it that these guys come in and they try and turn the situation to their advantage, or something happens and they're in danger, or there is none of that. But they could have gone down that route, couldn't they? It would have been more in Torchwood if they had done. But I'm glad they didn't. I think it worked really, really well. I was pretty much engaged all the way through it, really. The only thing I'm not sure about is the ending. When there's no conclusion to it, that's the only thing that slightly bugged me. When she flies into the sky and you don't know if she's gone through the rift or if she's just going to pop back down and say to her, no, it didn't work. But I don't think we see her again, but I don't know. I kind of felt like maybe they just didn't know quite how to end it. Like they sort of wrote himself into a bit of a corner, I think, with that one. But yeah, but it didn't bother me too much. In a way, I quite like it when we don't get all the answers, because you can just make out your own, can't you? So yeah, but no, it all works for me. It all works for me overall, I think. The script and everything.
I think you're right, mate. I think it's definitely a character piece for sure, because there aren't even any set pieces to speak of. I think it really revolves around the characters getting used to the time period, and especially Gwen. She's really worried about Emma, isn't she? She worries for her because they go out, because she tries to sort of educate her in the nicest possible way about how things have evolved in terms of finances and people's relaxed attitude towards sex and other things. And she really tries to put it across in a way that, look, we're not, this is very different to your time.
That conversation is really funny, actually, because she's like, so how many partners have you had? And Gwen's just like spitting out her tea, and she's like, so you're saying it's all right to sleep with lots of people and Reese is the best and all that. It's done in a quite a humorous way, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just thought that's quite funny because Gwen's just like,
She doesn't know where to look, does she? And
no.
Yeah, and Emma's, she's got a good sort of moral heart, really, because she takes it on board. She's like, okay, I get it, that it's not like in my time where you had to be married first and the woman's job was to, cook and clean and produce the babies and stuff. It's not like that anymore. But she still gets it in a way because she's like, okay, well, I understand that people can, have sex freely and it's all good, but I think I'm going to wait for the right guy, Mr. Right. I don't want to be one of these girls that sleeps around. And Gwen's face again is just like, yeah, because we've seen obviously Gwen mixed up with Owen and stuff. So yeah, it's a comical, it's a good sort of reflective moment for Gwen because she. And it's heartbreaking for Reese. I still feel so bad for Reese as well.
I know, because he gets a bit of a. There's a good scene, isn't there, where he's like getting quite cross with Gwen because he's kind of. I forgot as well that he doesn't really know about Torchwood much at this point, does he?
Yeah.
He's still being kept in the dark, so he's getting a bit fed up with that now, isn't he? Because all these things are starting to affect his life, and he's noticing that she's. I think of the line I liked because he said something like, "You lie to me so easily these days." And it's a real wake-up call for her, isn't it? That she's got this whole other life going on with Torchwood that he's not a part of. And, I think that was quite interesting. They explored that a bit as well. But I like Reese as well. He's really good at doing like the comedy. So obviously there's a bit where he walks out in the nude and all that. And she really screams as well. I tell you, he broke my television when she screamed. And then he goes from that sort of comedy stuff in the morning after that to the serious chat with Gwen. I think he's really good. I remember that he becomes a bigger part of the Torchwood story later on because we haven't seen much of him really up to this point. We get little moments like this, don't we? But we haven't seen that much of Reese so far. Well, we've seen all of him now in the morning, but you know what I mean? As a character, we haven't seen too much of him so far. And I like Reese as well. He's a very likable character, yeah.
So I would say out of I think the best way to describe the story is there are three main threads once the guys from the 50s land the plane and so on, because they set them up with new lives, basically. Torchwood give them new passports and identifications and places to live and all that. So you've got, I think out of the three threads, I think the one with Gwen and Emma is the happiest of the three, for sure. One of them, for obvious reasons, definitely isn't. And the other one's a bit surprised, which we'll come on to. But Gwen and Emma, because at the end of the day, she lies to Reese and says, "Oh, it's a family member," and then Reese finds out. But she still sticks to her guns a little bit. She's like, "Well, I'm not going to turn my back on her because I can't tell you at the minute why, but and you have to look after her." But it's at the very end where you've got that moment. It's almost like a mother and daughter thing where you've got the daughter who's grown up now and she's moving out of home. It's almost like that situation between the two of them. She's looked after her. She's got her back on her feet, sort of thing. And then at the very end, it's sad, but it's happy as well because she's found a job in London, so she's going to go off there. And Gwen's like, "Well, you don't have to go." She kind of grows quite fond of her. She's like, "You don't have to go. You can stay here. It's all good." But she lets her go at the end. Yeah.
She kind of becomes a bit like the parent, doesn't she?
She does.
She's the parent model, yeah. It's interesting as well because you sort of wonder what happened to that character. They could have brought her back or she could have come back into it, but I don't think she does, and it's probably right that they keep her, that's a mystery. But she sort of gets off, and she's the only one really that manages to get on with her life in the modern time as well, isn't she? Out of the three, the other two have different outcomes. Yeah,
she's the one that sort of takes it in her stride more than the other two.
Yeah,
I would say she at first. Probably I think at first she doesn't like it at all, does she? She misses her parents. And she's just not overly fond of just the place in general. But it's not until she goes out with Gwen and Reese, they go to a bar somewhere, don't they? And she ends up chatting with some guy and kissing him, and then she gets told off, and then she gets the job interview and stuff. So she starts to rebuild her life, really. I think because she's young enough to do that, it looks like.
I was going to say, because she's younger, isn't it? Yeah. I love the fact they explored the whole differences between the change over 50 years. I mean, I thought that was fun as well because the bit in the supermarket is really good fun. That there's, again, it sort of lightens the episode up a bit because it's quite serious in places, this episode, but the supermarket scene's really fun, isn't it? Where they're looking at the DVDs and smoking and what's the other thing? The Naughty magazine. When he's like saying, "God, this this shouldn't be on display. There are kids could see it," and he's like, "She's a kids presenter." It's like which is typical of nowadays, isn't it? Where people just get their clothes off all the time, and it's just I don't know. It's just interesting to explore the changes in our what's the word?
Society.
In morals over 50 society over 50 years, and they explore that quite well. So they do it in quite a fun way as well. I think I thought the supermarket scene was really good.
Yeah,
like she suggests about going carol singing, doesn't she, Emma? To the sort of two chavvy girls that they're staying with. Well, not chavvy, but you know what I mean. They're like, yeah, let's go out and get drunk, and she's like, oh, I was thinking we could do carol singing, and it's like again, it shows the differences between what people are sort of like nowadays compared to what we were sort of. So yeah, I like the fact that they explored that. I think probably could have done it a little bit more, really. But I guess they wanted to focus on the sort of story strands more. The one I'm not too sure about is Diane and Owen. Only because I thought the chemistry between the two actors was really good, actually. I did think they gelled well. It didn't feel forced. But on the other hand, it was surprising to see Owen fall in love that quick. And I think, that was just one of the constraints of having it as a one-parter. I don't think there was really enough story for this to be a two-parter, so it was right they kept it as one. But also that felt they got together very quickly, and Owen's a bit of a lad. And I don't know, he did fall for it very, very quickly. That just seemed a little bit too. It all happened a bit quick, but it was good to see a different side of Owen, and he even says it himself, doesn't it? He's like, this is freaking me out because I don't normally, doesn't normally happen, and I thought that was quite good as well. So I liked their relationship. I thought those two actors gelled really well, and they must have got on well because there's a very, very awkward. Well, I found it awkward to watch sex scene between the two. I mean, it's I don't think it was really necessary, in all honesty. I felt awkward, and I was watching it on my own. If I was watching it with someone else, I would have been cringing like hell. I don't know. I don't think they really needed to quite go that far with it. But also, if I'm right in thinking, it was right in the middle of the very serious scene where Jack and John are in the car, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yep.
Which seems a real contrast, and I'm thinking that must have been done on purpose.
Yeah, well, I think so.
Yeah, and I'm almost wondering, I may be reading way too much into this, but yeah, I don't know. I think they've clearly done that on purpose to show, that he wants to end it and it's all over for him, and Owen and Gwen are sort of starting anew. I don't know. There must be some reason that they took that incredibly dark, serious moment when John is trying to gas himself in the car to insert in a very awkward sex scene in the middle of it back to him in the car. It was a strange juxtaposition, if that's the right word.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and a bit of context.
But that is awkward. Sorry, God.
Yeah, so a bit of context. The character John Ellis, he's essentially feels like he's got nothing to live for because he's found his son that we mentioned at the beginning, who's now really old and he's in a care home. Doesn't remember him at all. Has this little tiny moment where his memory comes back and that's it, and sort of crushes him, really. He can't really deal with it. And as much as Jack tries to say to him, look, you're still young enough, you can still find work and you can rebuild and everything, he's just not having it. He's like, no, there's nothing to live for. So is that heartbreaking? So that first scene's heartbreaking when John is at the old people's home.
Oh, when he's showing him the photographs,
yeah,
that is that broke me a little bit. I was thinking that was emotional.
Yeah,
because he's
it was well done, wasn't it? It was emotional.
It was really well done, yeah, because he's like, look, that's when we got our first television. He's trying to bring back his memories, and he's desperate for him to sort of know who he is. And I've got to say, the guy playing John Ellis, so Mark Lewis Jones, I don't think I've seen him in anything else, although I'm sure he's done other things, but I thought he gave a fantastic performance. I don't mean to sort of jump ahead because I know we normally talk about the characters after, but as we're talking about that scene, I mean, that scene in particular, I thought his acting was brilliant. You know, he really sold it to me, what was going on in that scene. So he's done quite a bit, actually. I'm looking at Wikipedia. He's done quite a lot of stuff over the years. I just was thinking, you know, when you see someone giving a good performance and you think, God, you know, this guy deserves to be noticed. And I haven't seen him in anything else that I can think of. But yeah, he was really good in that scene. It was quite heartbreaking.
Yeah, he had a very small part in, there was a brilliant series that went out last month or month before called Chernobyl.
Oh yeah, I heard a few people talking about that. Yeah,
he had quite a small part in that. He was very good though. And apparently he was in Star Wars The Last Jedi. He played Captain Moden Kennedy.
Oh, okay.
Which I think he was one of the guys aboard the ship that's chasing after the anyway, yeah, I didn't recognise him from this though. I thought, but he's a great actor though. Really good.
I was going to say, for somebody sort of like I would consider a new face, I mean, he may not be, but new to me, certainly as an actor, I just thought, God, this guy's really good.
Really good.
He really put the heart into the episode, I thought. And the scene with him and Jack is incredibly moving. When Jack sits with him, he basically commits suicide in the car. That's dark, but it's also quite, what's the word? I don't know. It was dark, but it was also, because Jack was there, it kind of made it emotional. You know, it was just like it took away a bit of the nastiness. It was almost quite peaceful, if that makes sense. I don't quite know how to explain it, but rather than just thinking, oh God, this is horrible, look what he's doing, it's like Jack's there waiting with him till he goes, and it was, I don't know, it added something to it. You know, it was quite powerful.
Yeah, and I think that's where that right there is, I think, one of those moments where there's a very clear distinction between Torchwood and Doctor Who. Because in the world of Doctor Who, normally that stuff would never happen. The Doctor would save the day, but at that point, and they wouldn't do that. But in Torchwood, it's a very different vibe at times. And I think it's incredibly mature. And I don't mean that in a, let's just put an 18 or a 15 rating on it. I mean in terms of how Jack handles that situation. Because he can see the similarities between the two of them. They actually say it out loud. They reinforce it throughout the show, throughout this episode, where they say, "I'm like you, a man out of his time." You can see that on one hand, you've got Jack, who's very much trying to figure it all out, so to speak. And then you've got this other guy, John, who has already figured it out and has decided that he doesn't want any part of it. So as much as Jack tries to talk him out of it, it actually gets to the point, and that's the emotional bit for me, where Jack's just like, okay, fine. If you're going to do it, then, I'll be there with you and stuff. And it's incredibly moving. It's one of those moments where it's just, there are three things in the story that happen. You've got the scene with John in the care home with his dad, and then you've got this bit where he's committing suicide, and then you got the bit after that where the story just, like I said earlier on, there's a little sort of happy bit where Emma goes off and you hope that she's going to have a good life and she gets that good job and everything, but Gwen's pretty heartbroken, and Owen, as you said, he's distraught afterwards, because as we progress that thread towards the end, where Owen has fallen fast and hard for Diane, which is a really good reversal of roles, actually, because like you said, Owen's a bit of a lad, and he's normally the one that's playing the field and sleeping around and not being committed at all to anybody. Now you've got this woman who's like him in a way. She's like, well, I don't want to stay here and be tied to you. My life is up in the sky in a plane, traveling and visiting the world, and I don't want to be here. She falls in love with him as well. She says that she loves him and stuff, and then he's just like, you would expect him to be, I don't know, like just his character that we've seen so far, you would expect him to be like, oh, I don't want any of this. I don't want her, the old ball and chain, let's get rid of her. But it's the other way around. She's like, no, I'm off. So, and he doesn't want to. So it's all very emotional. It does hit you like a ton of bricks, that last 10 minutes.
What did you think about the sort of non-committal ending, though? Like the fact it just fades to white. Did you? I mean, I don't think they could have done anything else, could they? They can't really give us any closure on that. I think. Well, I don't know what else they could have done. I felt a little bit cheated, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, but what else could they have done? They can't really give us a conclusion to that story. So I guess it's the best ending to that thread, really. But I felt a little cheated at the end to begin with.
Yeah.
I was like, well, where did she go? What happened?
Well, yeah, but, I think that's sometimes a good thing.
Yeah.
Because in your mind, obviously we can't do anything about John because he takes his own life, so we know what happens to him. But in a way, it's kind of cool because you think, well, what did Emma end up doing in London? Because she obviously got that job that she's really excited about. But did she meet somebody? Did anything happen to her? These two characters, they never appear. Because sometimes when we're looking through these, when we review stories and we see these supporting cast members, when we look through Wiki and these other notes when we're researching, sometimes, or quite often actually, you'll read something and you think, what happened to that character? And then you'll be like, oh, hold on. It says here that they were in a Big Finish story. So I have to go and check that out. Or
I see what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? Or they appeared in a book somewhere. But these two characters, Diane and Emma, they don't appear anymore at all in any part of Doctor Who or any spin-offs, anything. It's just this one story. So your mind does kind of make up the gaps, I suppose. You think, well, I wonder what did happen to Emma, and especially Diane, because she had a little bit of... Who's the woman who flew around the world years ago and her plane crashed and we never... Amelia Earhart. She's got that kind of vibe about her. She's got this like classic adventurer woman about her, and you think, well, did she go back and find the rift? Did she fly back through it? Because Owen does say to her, look, there's no way of knowing where you'll end up if you go back through it. If you even find it, there's no guarantee that you'll end up back home. You could end up literally anywhere. And she's like, no, don't worry. So she's off, and you think, did she find the rift? Did she fly back through it? Or did she just keep on traveling around the world? Where did she end up? So it's cool that your mind fills in the gaps a little bit that we're not told visually. And
I like it as well. In my mind, I think she just ended up traveling. I think, I don't think she found the rift. Not in my mind anyway. I think she just, went up into the sky, landed somewhere else, carried on her life. Because by that point, she's had to adjust, doesn't she? Like when we first meet her, she don't know what's going on. And then by the time she leaves Elwyn, she's kind of like had to accept what's happened to her. And I think she just goes off and starts afresh. That's how I see it. But I love it. You could put your own ending on that. So I do think it was the right thing to do, is to just give no closure on that thread. It's like you make up your own mind. I mean, you might think she went through the rift. Yeah, maybe, someone else might think she crashed. There's multiple choices. So yeah, I think it's good. They didn't tell us.
Yeah, so there is after, if I have to engage my memory a little bit, but I remember further down the line, there is a tiny little moment in Torchwood where Owen does think that somebody has appeared to him through the rift. So that makes me think that she did go back through it somehow.
Okay. What, in a later episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we have no idea where she ended up when she went through it. But that's not to say that she went through it straight away, though. She could have flew around the world 7 times.
Yeah, the petrol run out. Oh, no.
So it's, I know what you mean. We make up our own endings for those characters, which is not a bad thing. And then just very quickly, that's really all we get out of this story, because Tosh is hardly in it. She has a couple of little scenes where she's trying to track down John's family for him and stuff. And Owen, he gets his car keys robbed by John, and that's pretty much it from him.
Yanto, you mean?
Sorry, Yanto.
Yanto, yeah.
Owen, sorry, yeah. Yanto, yeah. So he's still got very much a Alfred from Batman vibe in series 1 of Torchwood. He's just there to bring coffee and tidy up and
mopes around.
Yeah, and look after the Batcave, and so I know in series 2 we get to see a bit more of him, but still not doing too much at the moment. But that's really all there is to the story. It's one of those things where it's not complicated. It's just a very emotional, straightforward story.
Yeah.
We should get on to score. Did you want to mention anything?
Just as I said, I thought I really thought everyone in the cast was great. I think Byrne deserves a little mention. Byrne Gorman as Owen, because he, up until this point, has very much played that same sort of part, cheeky chappy, the one-liners, the cocky, and he definitely brought more to the table. He's really grabbed the script, and I thought his performance was just, I mean, he's normally good anyway. I think he's one of the better ones, but he really upped his game in this. Like when he was at the end saying goodbye to her when she was flying off, he was distraught. I mean, he really acted that well. He looked absolutely broken, begging her not to leave and stuff. And I just think everybody really upped their game in this. And John Barrowman as well really tones it down. He gives a lovely understated performance. Because Captain Jack can be very in your face and jokey and blah, but he's, again, really hitting the mark in this episode. A great bond with the John character. So yeah, I just think the whole cast, I mean, Gwen, Eve Miles, she's normally pretty solid anyway, and she's solid in this, but the whole cast just seemed to really get the script and think, right, yeah, we've got to just tone it down a little. We've got to play this straight. This is, it was just very well acted. Because I think, because there's not much action in it, if the cast in this hadn't been good, like the supporting cast, I think it could have fell apart a little bit. It could have been quite boring, but they are very good actors. They really, really bring it to life. Mm-hmm. So, so I think all the cast really good this week. Supporting cast and main cast, yeah.
Yeah, completely agree, mate. I think you hit the nail on the head that they really understood the script. Really took hold of it and played it out well. Yeah, and I think
and it could be down to the direction as well. I don't know, Alice Troughton, she maybe just, give her some credit as well. It's well directed, and maybe she just got good performances out of everyone.
The two of them, actually, Catherine Tregenna and Alice Troughton, I think they've done some really cool stuff. So Alice Troughton, who directed it, she actually directed some Sarah Jane and some Doctor Who. So she directed Midnight and the Doctor's Daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she did some Sarah Jane stuff, and she did another Torchwood. And she's done loads of things like Merlin. She's done lots of stuff for, the DC stuff that's on the CW channel, The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and stuff. Yeah, so she's a really good director, actually. Some of those, and some Lost in Space. We spoke about that before we recorded.
Oh, we were on about that earlier, weren't we? Yeah. Oh, well, she did a very good job, and she's no relation to Patrick, Michael, or David, just in case you're wondering. But Catherine Tregenna, that name rings a bell. She's done other Who, hasn't she? Or she's done Doctor Who. I'm sure I know that name. Yeah, or has she just done more Torchwood? She was the writer. Yeah, so she wrote the story "The Woman Who Lived." Oh, right. Oh, not one of my favourites, that, but yeah.
Yeah, and she's also done a few things for. She did. You remember Stan Lee's Lucky Man?
Yeah. She quite liked some of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's done some of that stuff as well. She's done some other UK stuff, Casualty and Law and Order, that sort of thing. But no, I think they were a good team on this one. Those two.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yes. Okay, scores. Unless you got anything else.
No, mate, no, that's good. Let's go on to scores.
I think it's me.
Whose turn is it?
Is it me or you?
Yeah. No, you go first.
Yeah, okay. I am going to give this an 8.5.
8.5?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm giving it an 8.
You're giving it an 8? Okay, cool.
I give it an 8. I'm knocking off 0.5 for the awkward sex scene. I'm taking that off. It just didn't need that. But no, it's a real good story. I think it's one of the best we've had so far in series 1, I think. So I'm giving it an 8, yeah.
I would say so. Definitely one of the best, yeah. Okay, what did our awesome listeners think? We had a couple of audio clips in. Let's get to those as usual. Our regular reviewer from Down Under, this is Sammy Satine.
Sammy.
G'day, Carrie and Adam. Sammy Satine here. So, Out of Time. This is a brilliant idea, and I absolutely love this episode, but it's not something you watch if you're sad or anything like that. I really like Emma and Diane. John's story is interesting, and I do feel for him, but I don't like his shouting at Emma. Owen shaking up with Diane is interesting. Seeing him fall in love with her is different. It's a shame Tosh is sidelined in this story. Nice to see Reese. I give this 8 old-fashioned planes out of 10. See ya.
Nice one, Sam. Yeah, it's a good point about him shouting at Emma. I'd forgotten about that because, again, I wondered where that thread was going. I was like, oh, is there more to this? But it's not. It's just, I think it's just a sign of the times, isn't it? That he's playing the father figure to her.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that actually. I thought, what's going on here then? Why is he? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I did. I was like, is there some sort of side to John we haven't seen? But no, it wasn't anything to do with that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sammy. And 8 there. Let's get on to Luke Malloy.
Hello, Gary and Adam of the Big Blue Box podcast. It's Luke Malloy here. And first, I just want to say thank you. I've just started my own Doctor Who podcast called the Doctor Who Discussion Podcast, and I'm really enjoying making it and what the future's going to bring, and it's all down to you making such a good show and having a laugh and tuning in every week that I wanted to start my own. So I just want to say thank you for that. But enough about the shameless plug. Go to Torchwood Out of Time. This is the 3rd episode in a row now where there's no monster, and the 2nd episode where the team don't really interact with each other, and that puts it down for me a little bit. It's an interesting character piece, but it's particularly finished with a nice little bow around it. Although I've got to say that Barrowman plays the car scene exceptionally well. Worst date idea ever, taking a girl to a car park. And just out of curiosity, I'd love to know what wage Torchwood pays. Overall, middle of the road, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Thanks again.
5.
Nice. Yeah, car park dates, not the best. He was lucky to get away with that one. He was lucky not to get a kick in the shins.
Yeah, true. Okay, well, that's really good news, Luke, about your own Doctor Who podcast. If you shoot us a link over or something, we'll check it out.
Absolutely.
Nice one, buddy. But thank you for your reviews, you guys. Let's head over to Twitter. We had Jack at Houveneer that says, I watched it recently and loved it. Owen properly loving Diane shows a different side to his character, which we haven't seen before, and it also gives Gwen and Jack development just from being around the characters. It doesn't feature aliens, but it's still very Torchwood, 9 out of 10. Jordan Shortman, one of our writers, says, I really like this one, and it finally shed some light on Owen, who actually isn't a nasty piece of work anymore. And there is some really strong performances from all involved. Series 1 is a mixed bag, but Out of Time marks a turning point. From here on in, things get great.
Oh, good.
Sebling says, a great episode that finally showcases Owen, probably one of the best in the series. Oh, and it's also very entertaining. Love it, 8.8. TF Productions says, things change a lot within 50 years, don't they? One of, if not my favourite from Series 1, the idea of bringing a group of people 50 years into the future and seeing how their everyday lives change so much fascinates me. Plus, the scene in the supermarket is brilliant. Gives it a 9 out of 10.
9.
Sarah Louise, a running Whovian, says, possibly my favourite ever Torchwood episode. The focus being on differences in time rather than species. It's so well written that the now and then comparisons make us smile, but also feel empathy. We also, we see a vulnerable side to Owen and learn lots more about Gwen, Reese and Jack. A 9 out of 10, another 9.
9.
Nathan, Silent Nerd, C137, says, a lovely heartfelt episode where there's not a villain to defeat. It's just 3 people from the 50s trying to survive. I absolutely love the parallels between Captain Jack and John. It's so painful to see John visit his own son, and the suicide scene is beautiful. Another 9. Genesis of Androzani. The way this develops Owen as a character is excellent, exposing his emotional side. Diane is such a great character. Jack holding John's hand as he commits suicide after he finds his son, who forgets him, is heartbreaking. Gwen and Emma's story is weaker, though. Overall, another 9.
9.
Yes, and lastly, Kate Cat 0703 says, I love this episode so much. It's so beautiful and heartbreaking. Yes, it is. And then a couple over on Facebook, Luke Allen says, really great story, one of my faves, although the sex scene was a tad uncomfortable as I watched this for the first time with my nan. Oh, God.
Oh, no. That's not... I don't want to be doing that.
And fast forwarding through it proved more awkward. Oh, dear. No. He says, well written, emotional and great storytelling. I admittedly haven't seen it for a while, but it may be utter trash to me now. I remember it as good as I remember it as good as I hope it is. Well, Luke, it is as, yeah. That's so awkward. And lastly, Lawrence Baxter. I think this is such a strong story that deals with the uncomfortable and difficult logistical and emotional issues thrown up by being people in the wrong time. At times, I think this is really powerful. I've never quite bought into how quickly Owen falls for Diane. So for me, that strand is the least credible. Not the best story, but a strong 7.5.
Okay.
That's a good score nonetheless. A load of 9s in there, dude. People are loving this one.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a strong one. And actually, this was a real pleasant surprise, really. I, as I said, wasn't really expecting much from the trailer. And yeah, I don't remember this episode at all. I'm surprised I've forgotten it, really. Yeah, it's a real nice surprise, this one. How good it was.
Yeah. Indeedy. Yes.
Hoping for more like this now.
Yeah, for sure.
Hoping Torchwood's found its feet a bit, yeah.
Yeah. Okie dokie. So thank you very much, guys, for your thoughts on that one. Love hearing your thoughts and stuff. Next week, it's modern Doctor Who. What have we got next week, bud?
Yeah, next week, 10th Doctor story. So we're reviewing Human Nature and Family of Blood.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mother of mine. Sister of mine.
Sister of mine, yeah. Yeah.
That'll be good then. So new listeners, just to let you know, when we go through some of the more modern Doctor Who stories now, because we've done a great deal of them, we've left these two-parters scattered around. So most of them will be two-parters from here on in, with the exception of a few. So you have to get your DVDs out or your Blu-rays, whatever you've got, get that watched. So next week, as Adam said, Human Nature and Family of Blood. I think we'll stick a pin in there, dude, for 237.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys, for sticking with us and listening to episode 237. It's been great to talk through some news and merch, some sad news. We have another passing, but nonetheless, it's all good stuff. And the series for the specials steelbook looks pretty good, so that's another thing to pre-order.
Yeah, it is.
So that's going to be good. Thank you so much for your thoughts and reviews on Out of Time. A bit of a gem there from Series 1 for Torchwood.
Yeah,
nice. Which is all good. Next week, as we've said, it's the 10th Doctor story, the two-parter Human Nature and Family of Blood, so get your thoughts in for that. As I mentioned earlier, our recording day has shifted and will shift slightly week on week, so look out on Twitter and Facebook for when we record so you can get your reviews in time. In the meantime, head over to our website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our previous episodes on there, plus check out all of our cool articles that our writers put out for general reviews and write-ups on all things Who. There's also buttons there to jump off to the various social networks, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Give us a like and a follow on there, because we chat Doctor Who each and every week. And make sure you subscribe to the show in whatever podcast app you listen to. We're on all of those. And also leave a review and a rating if you've got a minute, because that really helps with us and discoverability and all that stuff. Remember to check out my co-host channel over on YouTube, The Geeks Handbag.
The Geeks Handbag, yeah, go and have a look.
Go and have a gander. So many cool
Loads
videos over there.
Yeah.
You'll waste at least 2 or 3 hours going through all of Adam's reviews and unboxings and all that stuff. And Adam is also on the social channels as well under the same name, The Geeks Handbag. So make sure you give him a like and a follow over there.
Indeed.
So have a good week, guys. Have a good one. And we'll be back next week for 237. Until then, remember, my name is Gary.
My name's Adam.
And now remember...